I've been over the road for going on 17 years now. I've hauled everything you can imagine: live cattle, frozen chicken, electronics, hazardous waste, you name it. I've driven through blizzards in the Rockies, tornadoes in Oklahoma, and heat so bad in the Arizona desert that the asphalt started bubbling under my tires. I thought I'd seen it all. I really did. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for what happened on a deadhead run out of western Kansas in the middle of August. I was running a 2017 Peterbilt with a 53-foot reefer trailer. For those of you who don't know the lingo, a reefer is a refrigerated trailer. It keeps things cold: meat, produce, pharmaceuticals, stuff that spoils if the temperature climbs above a certain point. My company had me drop a load of pork bellies at a processing plant in Garden City, Kansas. Garden City is out in the middle of nowhere. Flat land, feedlots, the smell of cattle and silage. It's the kind of place where you can see your dog run away for 3 days. I dropped the pork at about 4 in the afternoon. Dispatch came over the Qualcomm, that's the little computer screen mounted in the cab, and told me I had a deadhead pickup about 30 miles north of town. A deadhead just means you're hauling an empty trailer. You're moving equipment from point A to point B. No freight, easy money. Just drive up, hook onto an empty trailer, and take it to a distribution center in Omaha. I was glad for the easy run. It was hot. That dry, dusty Kansas heat that sucks the moisture right out of your skin. My air conditioning was struggling to keep the cab below 80 degrees. I rolled up to the address dispatch gave me. It was a small meat packing plant. Not one of the big corporate ones. A smaller operation. Old building, chain link fence, a single security light buzzing over the loading dock. The yard was empty. No other trucks, no cars. Just a lonely set of trailers parked along the fence. The one I was supposed to pick up was parked right by the dock. It was a clean reefer, white, shiny. Looked almost brand new. But there was something off about it. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. Then I realized what it was. The reefer unit was running. That's strange for an empty trailer. Usually, if there's no freight, you shut the unit off. Saves fuel, saves wear and tear. But this thing was humming away, blowing cold air out the bottom, frost forming on the outside of the doors. I walked up to the dock office. An old guy was sitting inside, had to be in his 70s. Thin white hair, glasses with tape on the bridge. I said, "I'm here to pick up the empty reefer, number 422. He didn't look at me, just kept staring at a little black and white TV that was showing static. He said, "It's hooked and ready, just seal it and go." I said, "Is this supposed to be running? It's kicking out some serious cold." He finally looked up. His eyes were watery, pale, like he hadn't slept in days. He said, "It's just the unit cycling. It'll shut off eventually. Now take it and go." I didn't argue. Truckers learn early not to ask too many questions. You pick up the load, you drive the miles, you get paid. That's it. So I went back out, did my pre-trip inspection. Tires were good. Lights worked. The seal on the back doors was intact. I hooked up the airlines and the electrical cable, hopped in the cab, and hit the road. It was about 7 in the evening by then. The sun was starting to go down. I had about 400 miles to Omaha. I figured I'd drive until midnight, grab a few hours of sleep at a rest area, and deliver early in the morning. Easy. The first hour was fine. I was cruising north on Highway 83. Empty road, flat farmland on both sides, the occasional grain elevator breaking up the horizon. I had the radio on, some classic rock station out of haze. I was feeling good. Easy money, like I said. Then I noticed the temperature in the cab dropping. Not the outside temperature, the inside of my cab. My AC was set on low, but my breath started fogging. I looked at the thermometer on the dash. It read 62 degrees in the cab. That's about 10 degrees cooler than it should have been. I reached over and turned the AC off. The air kept getting colder. I could see my breath now. Little puffs of steam. I looked in my side mirror at the reefer unit. It was humming loud now, louder than before. A deep, throaty growl that vibrated through the whole rig, and I could see ice forming on the outside of the trailer doors. Ice. In August, in Kansas, when it was still 90 degrees outside. I told myself it was just a malfunctioning unit. Maybe the thermostat was stuck. Maybe it was overcharging. I dealt with broken reefers before. They freeze up, they thaw out. It's a pain in the ass, but it's not supernatural. I tried to ignore it. That's when I heard the first scratch. It came from the back, from inside the trailer. A faint scraping sound, like fingernails dragging across metal. I turned down the radio, listened. Nothing. Just the hum of the engine and the roar of the reefer. I shook my head. Wind. Or maybe the metal expanding and contracting. The trailer was being subjected to extreme cold. It makes noise. I've heard it before. But it happened again, louder this time. A long, slow scrape. And then another. And another. Like something was moving around back there. I looked at the rear-view camera I had mounted on the dash. It showed the back of the trailer. The doors were closed. The seal was intact. Nothing was moving. I looked at the temperature display on the reefer control panel. It read -20 degrees, -20. Inside an empty trailer. That's when I felt my heart start to race. Not just from the cold. Something was wrong. I picked up the CB mic and called out. Anybody got their ears on? Got a situation here on 83 northbound? Silence. Just static. I tried again. This is Unit 422. Anyone copy? A voice crackled back. Grainy, faint. Go ahead, 422. It was my dispatcher back at the yard. I said, hey, dispatch. This reefer I picked up. Number 422. It's running full blast. -20 in there. And I'm hearing scratching sounds. There was a pause. Then dispatch came back. Unit 422, confirm your load. What are you hauling? I said. Nothing, it's empty. Deadhead to Omaha. Another pause. Longer this time. Then dispatch said, son, that trailer isn't supposed to be running. It was drained and cleaned 2 days ago. It's empty. There's no freight in there. No product. I'm looking at the manifest right now. I said, I know it's empty, but I hear scratching. Something's moving around in there. Dispatch was quiet for a moment. Then he said, get out of the cab. Open the doors. Check it if you have to, but call me back when you do. I didn't want to get out, I really didn't, but the scratching was getting worse. It was frantic now, fast, desperate, like something was trying to claw its way out. I pulled the rig over onto the shoulder, middle of nowhere. No houses, no lights, just the dark prairie stretching out to the horizon. The stars were out, bright and cold, but not as cold as that trailer. I grabbed my flashlight, a big mag light, heavy. Good for hitting things if I had to. I walked to the back of the trailer. The air around the doors was so cold it burned my lungs. My breath came out in thick clouds. Frost was caked around the edges of the doors. The seal was still intact. No gaps, no signs of tampering. I took a deep breath, unhooked the latch, pulled the handle. The doors swung open with a heavy groan. Cold air rushed out like a wave. It hit me in the chest and knocked the breath out of me. I shone the flashlight inside. The trailer was empty, just a long white refrigerated box. But the walls were covered in frost. Thick frost, like a walk-in freezer. And on the far wall, right in the middle, was a handprint. A single, perfect handprint, frozen into the ice. It wasn't a small hand. It was a man's hand, full-sized, fingers spread, palm flat, like someone had pressed their hand against the wall and the frost had formed around it. But there were no footprints on the floor, no sign that anyone had ever been inside. I stood there, frozen myself, staring at that handprint. Then I heard the scratching again, but this time, it wasn't coming from the trailer. It was coming from the cab, behind me, right behind me, from the sleeper berth. I spun around. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. The cab was dark. The interior light was off. I could see the shape of the curtain that separates the driver's seat from the sleeping area. It was closed, like always. But behind it, something moved. I saw the curtain bulge, just slightly, like someone had pressed their hand against it from the other side. Then I heard the scratch, slow, deliberate, right against the fabric. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stood there, 40 feet from my cab, holding a flashlight, watching my own truck. The curtain bulged again. This time, I could see the outline of a hand, a human hand, pressing against the curtain from the inside. Then it dragged down. The fabric stretched. The scratching sound was loud and clear in the silent night. I remembered the dispatcher's voice. "Get out of the cab. Open the doors." He told me to check the trailer, but he didn't tell me to check the sleeper. I started walking back toward the cab, slowly, step by step. The hand disappeared from the curtain. The scratching stopped. Everything was silent again. I reached the driver's door. I could see inside through the window. The sleeper curtain was still. Nothing was moving. I opened the door, climbed up, sat in the driver's seat. My hands were shaking. I didn't dare turn around. I just sat there, staring at the windshield, listening. And then I heard breathing, right behind my neck, warm, wet, like someone was leaning over the back of my seat, right next to my ear, breathing against my skin. I grabbed the CB mic. I screamed into it. "Dispatch! Dispatch, there's someone in my sleeper. Someone's in my truck." The radio crackled, but it wasn't dispatch. It was a different voice, low, gravelly, not human. It said, "There's nobody in your sleeper, but there's something in your trailer, and it wants out." I slammed my foot on the accelerator. The truck lurched forward. I didn't care about the speed limit. I didn't care about the logs. I just drove. I drove like hell down that empty Kansas highway, blowing through stop signs, running red lights. Anything to get to a populated area. For the next hour, I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't check the camera. I just kept my eyes on the road and my hand on the wheel. The breathing stopped. The scratching stopped. But the cold never went away. My cab was freezing. I could see my breath the whole time. I finally rolled into a truck stop on the outskirts of Salina. There were lights, other trucks, people. I pulled into a spot and killed the engine. I sat there for a long time, just breathing. Then I got out of the cab and walked around to the back. The reefer unit was off, silent. The frost was melting. I opened the doors. The trailer was empty. No frost, no handprint. Just a clean, white, empty box. Like nothing had ever happened. But when I went back to the cab, I noticed something. The sleeper curtain. It was open now, and on the mattress of the bunk, There was a single patch of frost in the shape of a body, like someone had been lying there, curled up in the sleeper berth for a very long time. I never went back for that trailer. I called a tow truck, had them take it to the yard, and I took a bus home. I quit that company. I sold that truck. I didn't drive for almost 6 months. The police investigated. They found nothing wrong with the reefer. The seals were intact. The maintenance logs were clean. The old man at the packing plant denied any knowledge of anything unusual. They wrote it off as driver fatigue or sleep deprivation. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And sometimes, when I'm in a cold room, or when I'm walking past a refrigerated trailer at a warehouse, I hear it again. That faint scratching, that desperate clawing, like something is still in there. Something that wants to get out. Something that followed me home. I sleep with the lights on now, and I never, ever sleep in a truck with a reefer running. Not if I can help it, because the thing that left that frozen handprint in that trailer, the thing that breathed against my neck in the sleeper berth, I'm pretty sure it's not bound to a piece of metal. I think it found a way into the warm, and I think it's still looking for me.